As the events progress, the heat turns up. In this case, it's quite literal. Drivers will need to try their best to keep their cool at the Brickyard as we get ready for the PCA Sim Racing Series 14 Pro Class. You'll see it all live here on RaceSpot TV. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Ewan O'Leary. Behind the scenes is our director, Ramiro Cisneros. We're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. All right, so we finished the first two rounds. Spa and Watkins Glen. It's off to Indy.
Yeah, and the changing types of circuit as well continues on here at this Roval, effectively Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I think these cars are going to race quite well around here, actually. I think it's just such a strange track in some ways. I do think it will be good for these cars, though. We did get handed a couple of notes the other day by J.R. Gregory about this circuit and indeed what it could bring for us. With the hot circuit, there'll be exaggerated tyre wear going forward into this race, and qualifying the most important on the season so far. As I mentioned, tracks continue to change in their type, and this is probably the most difficult so far, although I've got to be honest, I think it'll be a bit easier and a bit better than JR says, but I'm not a driver, so he's probably more trustworthy than me. We'll see how it goes tonight.
Yeah, it's the ones down on the track obviously have a little bit of a different perspective from us. Bryce Rodriguez, though, tied for the top spot with Thomas Briggs now, having both taken a win so far this season, but both missing a race. Blake Townend sitting in second behind them. You've got Arthur Chan there tied with Lee Peterson as well. And then we've got Kerry Brooks, Thomas Isabel also tied. Christopher Pies, Logan Grotto also tied. So we'll likely see a few changes after this one is over, but it looks like there's plenty of drivers that are looking equal on pace to one another. Besides the standings, of course, we also have qualifying underway, although it looks like it is close to being over. You were talking about the drivers saying that, it might be a little bit difficult to pass here. I wonder how much this qualifying will be important once we get to the racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to read that from JR earlier this week, actually, because I did think this car would suit this circuit quite well. It's sort of a circuit with not very many long corners. I mean, turn 3 and 4 is sort of a long right-hander sort of braking zone. That could be very difficult in these cars, and turn 11's a long corner as well, I suppose, and you do have to think about it a little bit in these cars. However, yeah, I still think there's good opportunities. Big braking zone down towards turn 1. Difficult to get a run out of turn 14, admittedly, but I think it's very much possible. Decent chance at turn 7 as well. The reason why, by the way, I think it'll be okay is because of these long braking zones. The brakes aren't brilliant on these cars. As much as they get better and better, the Porsche Cup car gets faster and faster and almost becomes a GT 3.5 almost, or maybe even closer than that. It's it's still not a great car on the brakes. So I do hope that will create something down in towards turn 1 and turn 7. Certainly lap 1 and turn 1 is going to be an event, but it always is at this circuit.
It's like qualifying pretty much over, as most drivers have completed their laps. And as we said, difficulty here in trying to deal not just with the track itself, but the conditions seem to be of concern, as it's very hot at 120 plus. And, well, when the sun is relentless, your sunscreen should be too. Handsome new sports sunscreen spray is now available. It's SPF 30, broad spectrum, and reef safe. Plus, the spray is water resistant for up to 80 minutes. It's even TSA travel sized and made in the USA. This protecting spray is perfect for 120-degree handy track surfaces. And to prove it, tonight's driver of the hottest lap in qualifying will receive a 2-pack of Mo Handsome's Sports Sunscreen Spray. Learn more at their Instagram at MoHandsomeSkin and at their website, mohandsome.com/sunscreen. So I believe that is going to be going to Blake Townend, who seems to have taken our pole position for today's race. Congratulations to Blake on that one. And I think the drivers will get their 5 minutes of warm-up now before we head off to the race itself. Or do we actually? No, excuse me. It looks like maybe we have a minute or two left here.
I'm not sure what's going on at the moment. The timing screen suggests that qualifying's only just begun, which is not true, as far as we can see. But yeah, we're in warm up, so we'll have a look at the pole lap in a second, and I'll talk you through a lap around here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, all 14 corners of this newish well, I'll still call it the new layout. It's not really very new anymore, is it? This Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Changes brought in, of course, after the trouble in the 2000s for the Formula One, which never really returned anyway after the 2000s. I'm not sure I'm a massive fan, if I'm honest, of this layout of the Indianapolis Raceway, but it's the one we're dealing with here today, and yeah, we'll see that lap in a second. But highly anticipated race, I think, and certainly that qualifying session, let's say, highly anticipated as well going into this race weekend because of the difficulty in passing that some have speculated about going into this round.
And here we go. We've got Townend's lap, and like you said, it can be a bit divisive. I actually like this version more than what it previously was, but it seems like Townend jives with it pretty well here. Ewan?
Yeah, let's see down in towards turn number one. This big braking turn. This is where I'm hoping for the action here tonight. So you just kiss that curve gently on the right-hand side. You can go across that one a little bit more on the left. You slide a little bit, getting on the traction. This is a really difficult section in this car. Slowing and turning all at the same time. Very difficult to do in any car, but especially these. He keeps it very nice and tight, though, through turn four, as now he just accelerates over the curves. This is where this car's at a bit of an advantage. Being able to jump over those curves quite severely is a real advantage through there. That new chicane. Now in towards turn 7. The left-hander, 90 degrees. Again, just kiss it gently, although he goes a bit hard over it there. Similar corner to turn 1, really, but in the opposite direction. Then a more flowing chicane section through 8 and 9. Gone to the hairpins. And then into turn 10, where you really do need to get over the curb on the right-hand side. Try and use all the track, but don't cut it, especially on this qualifying lap. Then through turn 11, which is pretty difficult. Get yourself straightened out as quick as possible before this braking zone in towards turn 12. Again, similar curb as we've seen 2 times already on this lap. Before setting yourself for turn 13 and 14, the most important 2 corners on this racetrack. Make sure you get to the left here early or out of 13 so you can be as flat out as possible going through turn 14 before the run to the line. Get very close to the wall as well. Use all of the road in this car. It doesn't have very much downforce. That's how Blake Townend took the pole. Got to say, very, very clean lap. Can't see very much wrong with that at all.
I agree, and it put him about a tenth ahead of Bryce Rodriguez, who will start to his outside for today's race. And let's go through that starting order. As, like we said, Blake Townend on the pole with Bryce Rodriguez next to him there on the front row. Thomas Briggs going to be starting in the 3rd spot with Thomas Ewing in P4. You've got Jesse Lyon starting 5th today with Matthew Siddall in the 6th spot. Arthur Chan starts in 7th. He'll be flanked by Robbie Prescott. Then in 9th, it'll be Kerry Brooks, and Chris Pies rounds out your top 10. Thomas Isabel will start from 11th. He'll have Klaus Nielsen joining him on that 6th row. Lee Peterson will be starting 13th. Kevin Jokel in P14, and David Fernandez in 15th position. Then it's Jonathan Waltman starting from 16th. After that, it is Rich Meekler in 17th, followed by James Hood in his number 12, starting P18 today. Last of the top 20 sees Chris Braun in 19th and Matthew Jokel next to him. You've got Joe Sinclair on the next row in 21st, followed by Matthew Odell in 22nd. Eric Sutton will start 23rd, and then Enrico Gregorato in the 24th position. From there, Xiping Wang will be starting in 25th. You've got Brett Holmes in 26th position. Michael Patterson on the inside of the next row there in P27. Chad Henson flanks him in 28th. Sylvester Canny starts 29th, and Terrence Tong then will start 30th. Only a couple more cars as Ben Loon will start 31st, Ed Eisenreich 32nd, Christopher Cook 33rd, and Michael Scheuer will round out the field. All 34 cars managed to set a time in qualifying. Good to see that. Sometimes it can be easy to go just a little bit beyond the limits out here. Those track temperatures have been really the big thing that a lot of the drivers we've been seeing leading up to this talking about slipping and sliding around, and also, Ewan, tire management potentially over the course of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something we've spoken about this season, actually. I was a bit surprised, actually, over the last 2 weeks at Watkins Glen. It wasn't more of a discussion point, but it didn't seem to be a huge thing. Although maybe I do still feel as if the last part of the race between Thomas Briggs and Bryce Rodriguez was affected by it. I can't really prove it. I just think it was. Tonight is certainly going to be the case. High 40s Celsius-wise is very, very warm indeed. And don't forget, by the way, it's only 11 o'clock in the morning, or at least it was for that warm-up session there. I'm presuming it is going to be something similar for this race session as well. It's not even really the heat of the day, so goodness knows what it could have been like at its very worst. But this is quite bad enough from what the drivers have told us so far.
Yeah, it's at 114 Fahrenheit on the track surface right now. It is locked time, actually, for this race, so it's always going to be at 11 a.m., which does still get pretty warm in the Midwest, depending on the time of year, which I believe they have set this to sometime in July. So this does make sense that they have chosen this one for being this hot. As they'll take a partial pace lap, then they'll head on their way. You mentioned, not being as into this one, which is understandable. It's hard to stand up to the oval. But the only thing that disappoints me on this latest layout that they run on here is they took away the reverse of what is usually oval turn 1 that now they run on the infield. I liked having that on the old version.
Yeah, that's my gripe with it as well, actually. I would get rid of that chicane. But, then you get into the problem that, for IMSA here, when they come here, I think that the GTPs would be going less than a minute lap time if you took that final chicane out, maybe. But maybe it'd be close, but maybe that would just make it a little bit too short. But yeah, that's my real gripe with the new circuit. To be honest, I really like that run out of turn 10, what used to be all the way round oval turn 1, some of turn 2 actually, but all the way through turn 1 the wrong way round was a real trademark point of this circuit. But it doesn't really buy into its oval setting, unfortunately, this circuit anymore in this layout. But never mind, we've got a race to get on with, and I'm sure it will still be a good one.
It tends to put on a pretty good show even in this version, which is the other thing that pleases me is it still has great racing. And Blake Townend up on the pole spot is going to hope that he has a good race, potentially to the win. Don't look like we have Thomas Ewing out there at the start as the green flag waves. And already look at all of them hugging the right-hand side, trying to cover that inside, coming down into turn 1. This is a turn 1 that often sees lots of chaos coming into there. They'll have to keep their wits about them as they all slam onto the brakes coming into this corner for the first time in anger. And it does look to be pretty good despite some 4 wide at the very back. We don't have an accident.
Yeah, some bravery on the outside wouldn't have gone amiss by somebody there, because the inside got so concertinaed and stuck together that they were all on top of each other on the inside of turn number 1 there. It has meant they all get through cleanly, not a single spin, in fact, through turns 1 and 2 anyway, although there were some big stack-ups. I mean, this is what I mean. Down the inside, you're better off on the outside. They're coming to a stop down here on the inside. Look at this.
Ben Leung actually making contact as well. I think maybe he's got a little damage on his nose, but the others seem to be fine. Oh, and Thomas Briggs, when did he get to the lead over Townend? So must have been a battle coming into turn 7. He'll get ahead. Rodriguez takes advantage of it. Townend goes from the pole at the end of lap 1 at P3 potentially. He's going to try and take it once again as we're looking at 3 wide. Maybe no. He is going to stay in behind Thomas Briggs, and he loses out to Rodriguez once again.
Yeah, we'll have a look back at what happened, because I saw some guys through the runoff on the inside of turn 7 in the small box there, but we'll find out what's happening. It's not over yet at all. These front 4 battling for the lead hard, and look at Bryce Rodriguez with the run out the final turn. He's on the end. Oh, and there's contact between the two who were battling 2 weeks ago.
Rodriguez has the inside, but here comes Townend now. Oh, and again, he denies the opportunity for a 3 wide, maybe thinking it's too early for those shenanigans. Looks like Rodriguez comes away with the lead as Thomas Briggs will slot into second. Jesse Lyon as well, sitting there in 4th, just kind of watching all of this. So here's a replay of what happened coming back to the end of the lap. And wow, I'm impressed with all that was going on. We didn't have any issues with that top group.
No, exactly. It's a really good pass though from Rodriguez. Look at the different line he takes there. mentioned in the qualifying lap about staying as far to the left as possible before 14. As Briggs dives down the inside, he's off. Briggs in live pictures is off as he goes down the inside at turn 7. I'm pretty sure that's where he got the lead first lap, by the way, Thomas Briggs, but he's just thrown away a top 5 now. And here comes Blake Townend down the inside. He can't quite get past. Kerry Brooks now side by side with Briggs, who at least keeps a top 5, but he throws it all away there.
Oh, critical mistake when it looked like it was going to be a very good one for Briggs. It's not over, but it's going to be difficult from here. Jesse Lyon is now the one to go wide, coming down into turn, I think 11 is that one, and it looks like he gets back into the racing line. Briggs gets one of his spots back because of that.
It's one of the best 3 minutes of the season. It's amazing. Down the inside for Briggs, that's what happened to him. He just went way too deep on the brakes there as he tried so hard to pass Rodriguez. I almost think that, the fear of not being able to overtake has sort of encouraged them to overtake in a weird kind of way. And, they've all gone crazy at the start of this race. Higgs, Siddle and Pies in the background, I think it is. Yeah, it is for 7th place. Christopher Pies was side by side, I think, with Kerry Brooks, at least briefly, for 6th place. But he's now in 8th place behind Siddle, and I think it's going to stay that way as well. This was lap 1, turn 7.
This must have been the incident you were talking about. Yeah, there's a few cars off, along with Terrence Tong getting turned completely 180 degrees. He whips himself back around and gets going, but the damage has been done to those cars at the back. So back to our live pictures, and it is Klaus Nielsen here in a good battle, although in front of him, more cars coming to blows with one another as it trickles backwards down through the field. It is calamity corner at turn 7 in this race.
That's Robbie Prescott, who's found himself in the grass. Christopher Pies was the initial one who spun around, and then, as you say, the domino effect just continued on and on and on. But this is Bryce Rodriguez at the front of the field ahead of Blake Townend. They've managed to get away a little bit from the rest of the field, but their battle's not over yet either. It's been an extraordinary start to the race. What a 4 races we're in for over the next 8 days, if this is anything to go by. What a start.
So this must be lap 1. Oh, no, excuse me. That was the incident we just saw, yeah.
And here's Prescott. There you go. Finally getting shoved off to the side, as you say. The effect just went down the line again and again and again, and Prescott eventually found himself off into the grass and finding his way back onto the circuit. Roy Prescott now running, by the way, down in 30th place as he comes into the pit lane. Actually, he may have picked up some damage in that incident.
And as it said on the top of our screen, Matt Odell has been given a black flag for the dive bomb incident, contact with the 908 and the 12 on lap 1. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of a look there from Townend, though he wasn't close enough to attack Rodriguez coming into 7 this time by. And behind them, battles still going on farther down through the field. It is fierce fighting in all sides of the pack. My goodness, up and down the order.
Yeah, Matt Siddle, the latest to lose places to Christopher Pies and Thomas Isabel in one go. So that's a sort of second group forming, if you like, from Jesse Lyon on backwards for 6th place. While these guys start to break away at the front, don't be alarmed by Jesse Lyon jumping around. I think he's having some connection problems, and that's going to be unnerving the rest of them in that rather large group, because you can argue that goes right the way down to Ed Eisenring, who's in 22nd.
All right, here we get a look at that pass that happened in the lap 1. Here is where a lot of the craziness really kicked off. And Briggs, Briggs cut the course, though.
I suspected that he did, because there was no way he made 2 passes in one go. But, the question's going to be there, Joe, whether you say, was Briggs forced to do that by Rodriguez moving around, or did he do it of his own accord?
Well, and here's my big question. How did he manage to do that and not give away a ton of positions? Because that's lap 1 on top of things. If you get a cut course, usually that is extra painful. Yeah,
so did he not get a slowdown for that, or what? Because you're right, that is another point as well on that. The amount of positions you lose with a slowdown on lap 1. I mentioned it in qualifying being important, but it's just as important on lap number 1 as well, not to cut the course in such an egregious way. We'll see what race control will decide to say about that, and it will pop up on the screen, and we'll know what's the score if we see black flag for Thomas Briggs. But I think Briggs will definitely try to argue that he was pushed into doing that, because he was already down the inside of Rodriguez, or looking like he was going to, and then Rodriguez moved out of line to go for a late move on Townend himself. So Briggs is going to argue that he was forced to do that, and if he didn't do that, he would have caused a crash, would be his argument.
Yeah, which is understandable. I'm very curious what their take on it is going to be as we watch both that battle for P6 and for P12 a little bit farther down the order here. Rich Minkler currently holding off Kevin Jokel, Joe Sinclair, Matthew Jokel as well behind him. Like we said, it seems like it's difficult to get away from a lot of the action. I think the heat has scrambled a few brains out there with how aggressive everybody's being.
Yeah, maybe it has. It's not only getting to the tyres, but getting to the brain as well, as we ride on board with Matthew Jokel down in towards turn one. Klaus Nielsen looks to the outside here of Enrico Gregorato, who's just in front of us at the moment. And there is a spin through the opening corners. That's Matthew Jokel himself, who has gone down the field.
Falls all the way to 28th. He's lost massive positions because of that incident. And now, the way things are going, it's not impossible that he could get a few of them back, because certainly a number of cars have wound up off the side of the road already in this race. So here's what happened that put Jokel off into the grass down at turn one. This, though, was all his own doing.
Yep, squeezing on the power a little bit too eagerly out of turn number one before spinning around into the Marshall's access point there, just on the exit of pit lane as well. That's where we'll see them rejoining after making their pit stops here at some point in the midpoint of this race. You would expect to see those, so 3 positions for everybody behind Matthew Jokel.
Isabel with Siddall, Peterson, Waltman sitting behind him. He does have Chris Pies and Jesse Line in a bit of a fight there for 6 just in front, but for now they at least have a brief respite from the chaos happening to try and focus a little bit on the race. You mentioned race control, maybe having a look at the cut course. I'm more wondering, if that wasn't a cut course penalty, there's got to be some emails going to iRacing about a bug that needs to be fixed after this one.
Or there'll be a code of silence so that everybody can keep using the same the same trick. But yeah, that if that is not a slowdown, then that's extra. I think in the corners afterwards that Briggs was trying to serve it, because he didn't exactly run away after that. We saw the battle. I think the battling with Rodriguez over the course of the next 30 seconds when he would have had to serve it, I think will have actually served it without it looking like he's really lost any time. So I think he might have done that quite cleverly actually through the final sector there, although he did end up losing the lead and indeed doesn't seem to have the speed of Rodriguez and Townend anyway.
That's a good point. It would have been really masterful if that was his way of getting that time back. Meanwhile, on the screen, still see Eric Sutton here, up 4 positions from where he started, and battling with Klaus Nielsen in front of him, who is down 7 from where he began. But there's a huge train of cars, so there's definitely spots to be had if you keep your wits about you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is that big group that was mentioning earlier on with Jesse Lyons. So it's not really breaking apart. Oh, it's a big slide in the background there. That's Brett Holmes coming onto the front straight. It's a proper corner, turn 14. I say that because more downforce heavy cars, you can pretty much go flat out through turn 14, and it's a non-event, but it's a proper corner to have to go through in this car. As we look at Thomas Briggs here, I just rewatched lap 1, by the way, on the stream replay. Briggs was certainly defending more than you would expect normally. He was serving that while defending, making it look like effectively he was just defending the place when actually he was serving a penalty. Very, very smartly done and quite discreetly done actually, but with hindsight, watching it back, you can see it very obvious.
Fantastic stuff from the 22. Hats off to him, but he was even able to sneak it under our noses in the process. Meanwhile, Rodriguez versus our pole sitter Townend. They've swapped since the start, P1 and P2. We're only about 12 minutes into this race, but it has been action-packed. They are still about 1.8 seconds ahead of Thomas Briggs, so they have not completely left him in the dust. I think it still could be possible that the 22 could catch up, but he's going to have to push hard to make up a gap like that.
Yeah, he is, and he doesn't quite seem to have the speed, unfortunately. Same, he's going for Arthur Chan at the moment, who's not getting any pressure from behind from Kerry Brooks, who's also on his own. He's working away. It's quite a not only driver cam, but also pedal cam from him tonight. There he is, working away. 4th place at the moment in the race, exactly where he is in the championship as well.
And Captain America socks, if I think that's what I'm seeing here. It's great. I do love the drivers that try to have some fun with this. Arthur Chan, great race so far. You mentioned earlier on the season that they wasn't sure if he'd be able to get too many more like that, but he's on par for potentially a top 5. Meanwhile, back in the battle for P8, Isabel under serious threat. Siddall in the car behind him, the orange and brown, forces him to go defensive, coming down to the braking of turn 7. Behind them, Leif Peterson maybe sizing up an opportunity to take advantage, but he isn't quite close enough. They're going to stay in that order.
Yeah, they will for the moment. Leif Peterson looks to be trying to take advantage, actually, of Siddall, but not able to fire down the inside at turn 10. There's a decent chance at turn 10 as well, because if you want to fire down the inside, the way that the racing line goes there doesn't open the door quite wide through into the right-hander, but it's quite a risky one to go for, and so we've only really seen it in the opening laps, and things have certainly calmed down since then. What a frantic start it was in those first 5 minutes.
It was just incredible racing. I'm glad it is calmed down a little bit now that we're about a quarter of the way into this event. Siddall not as close to Isabel this time, coming up to the braking of turn 1, although he's going to gain quite a bit in the slipstream as these cars do punch a decent hole in the air. Not only do they have Peterson, as you mentioned, but Jonathan Waltman has now joined the fray.
Yeah, so it's breaking apart, but some guys behind are starting to catch up here. Breaking apart because Line and Pies are getting away from this group, so still getting these trains, and now maybe are we seeing what the drivers were fearing in terms of the overtaking. Let's see what Siddall does on the way towards turn 7 this time, because he looks close enough to me. He's going to have a look down the inside and towards turn 7. Oh, he's only just alongside. That was tight, and he spins. He hits the curb too hard, and he goes around.
Falls down the order after he was looking so strong there for that lap and a half. The 16 is to 12th as Minkler is able to get by along with Peterson and Waltman, unfortunately. You can see there the -6 next to his name. That was not what he was looking for on this one. Jumping a little bit farther back, Gregorado. That's Klaus Nielsen just behind him. This is another big pack of cars. Goes, let's see, how high up does this go? This goes to Kevin Jokel in 13th. My goodness. And I think it extends all the way to 22nd. Massive group of cars.
Yeah, it's been the same from the start of the race, and as I say, I think this is starting to see the first signs of what drivers were fearing in terms of the overtaking, but Siddall certainly proved that you can get alongside there, although it didn't quite work out for him towards turn 7. You can certainly get alongside if you are fast enough and you get a good enough exit from the right area. You can certainly get down the inside at this circuit, so I wouldn't lose all hope just yet if I was in this group. I mean, Gregorato has already made up 7 places. Clearly, it's not too difficult.
I wonder if some of that is to do with a loss of grip in the tires. If they are getting slippy and slidey, when you lose a lot of grip, it tends to become kind of a one-line racetrack. So maybe those first few laps where there was still grip in the tires is where everybody was frantically trying to make use of it.
Yeah, maybe that is a good theory as well. As we have a little look at the race start, I mean, this opening lap or two was just absolutely brilliant from the front guys. Rodriguez and Townend were the two side by side and towards turn 1. Briggs is in the yellow, just getting involved there as well. In the background, you can see everybody getting through cleanly the first couple of corners, which was absolutely fantastic to see. As in live pictures, by the way, that was a bit wide from one of them in that group. And not sure who it was actually, but Gregorato is going to try and take advantage anyway.
Yeah, I think that was Fernandez in the gray 09, who is now behind Gregorato up to 16th. We also had a car in. Brett Holmes has come to pit lane, maybe trying to go for an early pit strategy here as we watch them try to defend down into turn 1. Gregorato holding off, but slicing up the inside. Nielsen absolutely mugs Fernandez. Is not successful, though, as he gets rebuffed around turn 2.
Yeah, and when someone gets pushed out of line like that in front of you, you've got to try and take advantage. Nielsen will be feeling this is really his only chance to try and get through here, and he looks like he's going to. Side by side through the chicane is always dangerous because of the curve through there, and they get away with it. In the background, by the way, Eric Sutton is going to be right on them now. Is he going to take advantage towards turn 7?
Yep, and Fernandez actually in the orange and blue, not gray and white. Here coming down into the corner of number 7. The 09 stays in behind Klaus Nielsen, who finally gets that P17. You're right, Sutton is there. Ed Eisenring also has been catching up with all of the action happening in front of them. But they'll emerge back onto the oval portion briefly here in the short chute, coming down to turn 12 once again. I was checking to see where we had that one driver that pitted, Brett Holmes. He's back out in 31st.
So Fernandez has done it again there. He's gone too deep in towards the right-hander of turn 12. He's hit the wall as well. I wonder whether he's got a bit of damage there, but we're in the pit window anyway, or at least in the window where you can pit and make it to the end. So Fernandez is going to cut his losses here after 2 contacts with the wall, or at least 2 moments of outbraking himself in towards turn 12 anyway.
And if you are stuck in a bit of a pack, I mean, this is as good a time as any. I think he's far enough down. He should come out in clear air. While we let him take his pit stop, we want to mention that we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. So, back to our leaders. They've been about half a second apart from one another pretty much since lap 3 was over. They've separated themselves from Thomas Briggs, who has not been able to cut down on that gap. But we do have something of a stalemate.
Yes. I mean, at the moment, I think for especially for Townend, I think that's okay. I mean, he's not in the lead, admittedly, and he's running in the dirty air of Bryce Rodriguez, and he's going to be a difficult customer to pass later on, that's for sure, if there is going to be a battle between these two. But I think this is fine for now for Bryce Rodriguez. For Blake Townend. If we look back to Watkins Glen last week, this was very much the sort of gap we saw about 20 minutes into the race. But it was Thomas Briggs, of course, in second place. And Briggs just weathered the storm through this period. He just stayed where he was, didn't worry that he wasn't going to be able to make a pass at this stage, or that he wasn't ever getting close enough to even really think about it. But he just held firm, and later as he got into the race, he started to advance a little bit closer, and eventually got past and held off Rodriguez for the win. And I just wonder whether that's a template that Townend can use tonight to try and win this third round of the championship.
I would have been taking notes on that, that's for sure. Now, whether or not they actually helped me would be another thing, but it should be able to give an edge to some of these drivers up at the front of the field. Let's take a look at Joe Sinclair just behind Kevin Jokel. That's Chris Braun behind him, and we were watching Greg Arado before as well. So a few familiar faces so far in this race. There's some different lines being taken through these S's sections through 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah, he does have his own name rubbed off there, doesn't he, on the left-hand side. He's clearly been in contact with somebody. They're starting outside the top 20 in this race, and he's now in this very, very large group indeed, just behind Kevin Jokel. Still being headed, this group, by Thomas Isabel at the front. So we're going to start to see pit stops, I think, from this group first, and that could open things up for a little bit for the likes of Townend, because one thing stopping him at the moment from maybe going early on a pit stop is the traffic he would come out in. But if the traffic he would come out in are going to be incentivised to pit themselves, then he might be incentivised to make an earlier stop as well. So we'll see what happens here over the next few laps in terms of stops. They could come earlier than normal, though.
And we have had a couple that were earlier than normal. I've been kind of keeping an eye on that because Fernandez and I think it was Holmes. Yeah, Fernandez and Holmes are out on track, and they're not that far ahead of the leaders. Now, it depends on how long the leaders go and whether or not the pace of Holmes and Fernandez is able to pick up, because they could wind up running into that lap traffic. So they might not want too many cars to try pitting early, because that could wind up getting in their way.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be one of those rounds where That traffic is going to be such a key factor in this one, but as I mentioned, so many different types of circuit on this calendar. May well rear its head a little bit later on as well. I mean, Laguna Seca coming up in 2 weeks' time is going to be perhaps one of those circuits where traffic becomes a factor again in terms of putting people a lap down anyway, and that really will be a circuit to worry about overtaking. If people are worried about it here, then welcome to Laguna Seca in a couple of weeks' time.
No doubt. By the way, got an interesting tidbit from race control. Apparently there are 12 cars with no incidents so far. So as crazy as it's been in some portions of the field, apparently there have been some very clean drivers picking up on this. We're watching Waltman right now, who leads Minkler, Peterson, Siddall, Jokel. We've been talking about some of these drivers here, the upper mid-pack, if you will. And they're still trying to chase down Isabel, who sits in that 8th spot. Waltman and Minkler, by the way, up 6 spots from where they started this race.
Yeah, both done very good jobs so far. I wonder if they are one of the 12 or not. Very hard to know from where we are. But I would doubt it, given the places they've made up between the two of them. Not quite as... Who is that further down there? Was that... Ed Eisenring, sorry, has made up the most, I think, so far, with 13. Maybe I misidentified, but yeah, some big movers up through the field. It is surprising, isn't it, that about a third of the field have gotten away without incidents after the crazy start. I mean, I almost don't believe it, but it must be true.
Yeah, they've got that information, we don't. We have had some big losers on the opposite end of things. Jim Huth, who I do believe was given a penalty a little bit earlier. Matt Odell, who we also saw with the penalty. Hernandez and Holmes, obviously, they've taken their pit stop. Poor Robbie Prescott, though. 22 positions down, sitting in 29th. This is not the day he was looking for. Jokel here might be under a bit of threat. Sinclair's got a good run coming down the main straight up towards turn 1. He hasn't popped out yet, though. He's going to stay in line, and no change of position here coming into the first corner.
You know, that was a perfectly good opportunity, really, in these cars with a braking zone like that. I get that at this point in the race you don't want to try and make a move. It's the middle third of the race. You're only going to cost yourselves time, I suppose, by doing it at this stage. But if you're going to pass up opportunities like that, then you can't complain about the lack of overtaking around this circuit. You know, it's a perfectly good chance, but not in towards turn 7. In towards turn 1, he had a decent enough chance, but clearly wants to sit where he is at the moment. And you know, I do think that's probably the best thing at the moment for anyone in this group. Until the pit stops really start to happen and you start to look at your undercut, where you're going to come out and how you're going to get ahead of some of those guys in front of you, it is better to run single file. As less entertaining as it is the better race strategy.
Keeping an eye on the distance between our potentially lapped cars and our leaders, and it's about a little over a second a lap quicker for a top 2 compared to the 2 that they're chasing. What's happened to Terrence Tong? As it looks like he's overshot the corner a little bit. He keeps it out of the grass, but massive time lost, and then on top of it, he loses control. Again, maybe losing that grip as he overheated the tires.
He doesn't look to me in full control of that car, to be honest, Terrence Tong, right from the very beginning there as he hit the brakes in towards turn number 1. Seemed a little bit all over the place, but at least he didn't go off the circuit or have any bigger incident. It's actually quite hard at the first sector to actually find a wall anywhere. It's a bit tighter around some of the other parts of the circuit, but through here you've got quite a lot of grass and gravel to save you anyway from actually making contact with the wall, which is a good thing, although it wasn't required there, as Rich Minkler gets a good run out of the chicane. He might have a go at turn 7.
Say hard to hit a wall in the first sector, and my ego takes a severe blow from that one. As we watch now coming down in a 7, and Waltman will hold Minkler off at least for the time being. Peterson giving a watchful eye from behind as Matthew Siddall sits 4th in this line. Waltman soaking up the pressure in the 707. He comes back onto the short chute here at the south side of the oval once again, just about reaching the halfway point in this race.
Yeah, not far away from it now, and surely we'll start to see a bigger flurry of pit stops as well, of people, especially in this group, who just want to get out of the traffic. It's quite a narrow line from Isabel there, from Waltman, sorry. And Rich Minkler will try and utilise that. Has he got a better line here? You see that from that camera shot. He's just a little bit tighter to the inside, just avoids the wall. Now it's going to be the gap between the two of them. Is the gap coming down quickly enough? Is the slipstream affecting enough? Minkler's going to get in the mirrors, weaves around a little bit, but he's not close enough down in towards turn 1.
Does seem... Whoa, as there was a big mistake from Waltman coming off the corner, but it is hard to pass through 2, 3, and 4. And I think that has saved his bacon, because it doesn't seem like Minkler had the appetite to try and take away that spot. So Waltman will stay in 9th position, at least for now. He can't afford to spin those rear tires too many more times on corner exits, though.
No. We've talked about it all day so far. You've got to really take care of those rear tyres. We're in the 110s Fahrenheit-wise, so it's very, very warm out there today. And so, got to be very careful with the rear tyres, especially because these cars rear-wheel drive, and no assist as well, which means you can burn through them very quickly indeed. As Gary Brooks and Jesse Lyon continue to fight. This is Brooks having been caught, by the way. He initially got away from Jesse Lyon, who was ahead of that big train earlier. He's gotten clear of that, and now he's challenging for 5th.
Lyon started out great, at least holding position, didn't lose anything the first couple laps, remained in P4, but then has fallen back 2 positions, and he continues to have some connections problems. So I do expect we're going to see a message from race control pretty soon. They don't take too lightly to that, and he outbrakes himself just to add misery.
Yeah, see, I wonder whether it was distracting him a little bit, because he was having these problems in the first part of the race when he was at the head of the group, and now he hasn't had those problems in the last 10 minutes or so. It's driven a bit better, so I wonder whether it's affecting him driving-wise as well, as Christopher Cook, after making a bit of side-to-side contact, also goes for a spin, drops to 29th.
Actually, the elbows were not sharp enough for him. He is the one that takes the pain in the end. Coming back to this fight here for 9th position. This has been one of the more sort of exciting bits, but again, it's another stalemate like I described earlier, where drivers just having difficulty trying to make that pass and really tempting us with what looks like a pressure cooker out there if you are leading a train of cars. If you can keep your composure, like I said, stay cool in the heat, then you'll come away smiling.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be half the battle here. He's continuing to blink at the moment, Jesse Lyon, so he's having trouble again, as he was in the first 10 minutes, and as you say, race control may well have a word in a moment, but hopefully it doesn't pull him out the race. Of course, he's one of our star drivers, really. He's always up towards the front, already has a top 5 this season from Spa. Less strong race at Watkins Glen, although it was another top 10. He'll be hoping for another one of those tonight.
See whether or not he can bring that home. If his connection clears up, then hopefully he can get away with it. If not, for those not familiar with this series, they will park cars if they think you are blinking too much, because they want solid, clean racing, good connections to prevent any sort of netcode issues. Meanwhile, back in 13th, Kevin Jokel with Joe Sinclair in behind him. And Jesse's just been given his first official warning for his connection.
Well, unsurprising, really. It's a good job he's not in one of these larger groups at the moment, the way that car is behaving, so he's got to be very, very careful with that now, and just hope that things improve, because when you're in that situation, of course, there's not a lot you can do. It's not like you can go and fiddle with your internet or anything. You've got to keep driving, unless there's some way in which you can tell someone else in your house the internet needs fiddling with or something, but don't turn it off, because that'll make it worse. So I don't know what you can do about that, really. Just hope, I guess.
I've always wondered about that. Maybe people smarter than I who know what things they can mess with on the connections. Otherwise, send your roommate up to the roof to mess with the bunny ears on the antenna. But for the time being, the number 27, Kevin Jokel, still sees this car, Joe Sinclair, close behind him. Another one of our cases of just withstanding all the pressure of a train of cars forming behind you, which makes you wonder what's going to happen when somebody blinks amongst these groups to make a pit stop. Will others react, or are they going to hold the line and try to go long like is traditionally considered the better option?
Yeah, it is the preferred option normally, but I've always taken question with that, to be honest with you. I know it's because generally it is the best option, but also it's the thing that most people do. I'd like to see somebody try a properly audacious undercut strategy at some point. I know it's hard for the leaders because the traffic situation around pretty much any circuit will land you in trouble there. But in terms of this midfielders, why they don't come in a little bit earlier and try something a little bit different, I don't know. I know it's a favourite strategy, but I mean, nobody really tries anything different anyway. And in any case, what is there to lose? If they follow the guy in front of them the whole time around, especially around here or next time at Laguna Seca, they're going to end up finishing behind them anyway if they do the same as the guy in front. So I would question why they don't throw a spanner in the works a little bit more, especially when you've got the opportunity to land yourself in clean air like these guys do.
Exactly, and everybody loves a gambler, so yeah, we want to see someone maybe do something a bit different to break things up, shake up the order. And I think what it will come down to is what you said. You almost need somebody on the box to tell you you've got an opening. You can pit now, come out in the clear, and put in some fast laps. But that all depends on you really managing to use those fast laps, because we have to remember, we've been talking a lot about the tires, but they generally don't change the tires in this series. It is fuel only in those pit stops. So you're not really getting a fresh rubber advantage. It is all clear air.
Yeah, and obviously weight as well with fuel, which is the biggest one as well, in terms of the way that the car changes. I mean, I don't think anybody will be changing tyres here today either, even today in these conditions, because it is just an hour-long race. You've just got to look after your tyres as Siddle gets very close to Lee Peterson. Even he's not having a look down the inside. I mean, he's probably quicker than these guys. He spun to be behind them in the first place, so I don't know why he's not making it.
I'm going to try and check with race control here. We have now gotten a second official warning for Jesse Lyon on his connection. I'm going to ask and find out how many official warnings are given before you are told to park the car, because Jesse might be pretty close here. I'm not sure that might be his final warning.
Yeah, it might be 3 strikes and you're out, I think would make sense, but we'll see. It has seemingly cleared out a little bit in the last couple of moments, but it's, as I say, it's an impossible situation, and I think it's affecting his driving actually, because for those 10-15 minutes where he didn't have any problems, he raced up to the back of Kerry Brooks and started putting pressure on him, but now it's going wrong again. He's now behind Christopher Pires, and there he goes again. I really think it is not only affecting obviously everybody else's safety in the race, but actually it's affecting his own driving ultimately as well.
Also worth noting here that Briggs, despite his win at Watkins Glen, seems to be having a bit of a problem today. He's already almost 5 seconds behind Rodriguez and Townend, unless he is playing possum and holding on to his tires up to this point, which he's...
I think he's lost too much though, hasn't he? If that's
and that was my thought.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you, by the way.
Oh, it's okay.
Say that. It's 25 minutes, 6 seconds is too far, isn't it? Really. So, and he's obviously got to pass Townend in second place, which is going to take a while and take some time out of the race as well. So yeah, he's gone too far. But I think maybe the thing that we can glean from this is Patterson has a look down the inside of Jokel. That's a narrow line into turn 7, and he's going to get it just about by parking it on the apex. I think we might have to start looking at Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, is the sort of outlier in Briggs' season. If you look at Spa, he was down the field a long way down, but in the as Jesse Lyon's out the race by the looks of things with a meatball, Briggs' last race at Watkins Glen just seemed to be a bit of an outlier, especially when you look at it next to this one as well.
And interestingly, I think this is the first time I've seen this since it was introduced a build or so ago, as this battle keeps distracting us here with Matthew Jokel, and it looks like Patterson's going to head into the pits to dip out of that fight. That meatball flag was due to his connection issues. So you get 2 strikes, and then on the third one, that is when you are sent to the pits, and there is no argument from towards race control. They have control of that. Once they give you that meatball flag, it immediately plops you into your pit stall.
And I wonder what Race Control are going to do now. What Jesse Lyon's going to do now. Is he going to sort of disconnect from the server, try and get his internet back on track and regain connection, or is he just going to call it a day? Because the laps he would lose there would be fairly significant, and we've not seen a single driver retire just yet, or even have really major problems. Matt Odell and Jim Hoof have had fairly major problems, and so they're both a lap down and will remain a lap down even after the stops. But even so, they are... they're at least still running, and that means Jesse Lyon's going to fall to 33rd.
Yeah, I don't see this one having a decent outcome for him unless there are some dramatic incidents and he does return to the track. I'm not sure. Nope, he has disconnected, it looks like. So that was a manual disconnection, but I have not seen a reconnect yet. We'll keep an eye out just in case he does decide get back into the action as we now watch the 908 of Rich Minkler. He was fighting with Waltman before, but Waltman's starting to get some distance there. Instead, he's looking behind to Leif Peterson and the blue number 913.
Another one of those groups that staying close for the moment, but staying static, as that's a real jump over the curves from Minkler. You can get away with more than you'd think over those curves, so it'll be okay as far as getting a slowdown is concerned. And Leif Peterson answered up, despite being close enough, I think, for a lunge, are not interested at the moment. They're still staying in line, still biding their time. It's just feel a bit like a waiting game at the moment. We'll see whether there really are some moves in the last 15-10 minutes maybe to prove that point, or whether they are legitimately struggling to overtake. But I think this part of this is a bit of a waiting game at the moment.
So I'm getting a bit of information on Jesse Lyon's situation. That was actually iRacing's automatic systems. Look at that, 4 wheels in the air for a brief moment for Minkler as the damage on that car showing he has been in the wars. So those 3 warnings was not you are parked on the third. It is 3 warnings, and then after that you are parked. And that was just iRacing's new connection issues settings. Decided he was not giving proper connection.
Yeah, and they're probably right, given what we saw on the tower. It's unfortunate, really, to see a good run end that way, but Lyon does have 2 top 10s to fall back on. In terms of his drop week, you get 1 out of the 7 rounds in PCA, so he will take that now. And that will mean a 10th place score from 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen will count now, thankfully. So that's not the end of the world for him, but it then again, we talk about it all the time, it puts the pressure on those next 4 races. That safety net is gone now, and a bad race in the future will be punished with points more severely.
It will require a phenomenal season for him to bounce back. As we're just about to the final third, we want to give one more mention to Princess Cruises because they are the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Now is where we should start to see a few more drivers take their pit stops. So far, we've only seen maybe about 4 of them that seem to have taken a scheduled stop.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it another way. We're still waiting for the top 25 all to come in. I mean, it's ridiculous. But, I just can't get my head around it. I know that on paper it's the best strategy, but the race isn't played out on paper. It's also, based on track position and based on all these different factors. Why everybody is just sort of just what's the word, tunnel vision almost, just following the guy in front of them through the entire race is just completely beyond me, because there's positions to be had here for somebody. If they get in some clean air and put in some fast laps, they can gain some places. But again, I understand it from the leaders, but there's so many in that midfield group who could benefit from an early stop, I think.
Well, and that was my thought as you were talking about that. Someone towards the back of the pack where they could probably pit, come out in some clean air, and try to do what they can to battle their way past some of these other drivers that they're stuck with. But now the action's starting to pick up for the lead as Townend is on the attack. Rodriguez goes defensive. A cutback does not produce P1 for the 575, but he's starting to get the 24 to look in his mirrors.
And this is exactly the same point in the race that Briggs started to do it to him 2 weeks ago. Are we starting to see a bit of a trend here emerge for Bryce Rodriguez in these few weeks? He's been very, very strong in terms of speed. We know his credentials from previous seasons in PCA, and we're seeing it again in Series 14. And after all, he's had a first place and a second place from the first 2 rounds. Not bad at all, but we're seeing a bit of a trend in these last couple of rounds. If, I'm reading this correctly, and this is going to continue for the next 18 minutes, that he does tail off towards the end of the race, especially when tyre wear is in play. And, well, if this continues on for the next 18 minutes, it's going to be very, very uncomfortable for the series leader.
Also, Ewan, you can send your thank you cards to Kerry Brooks. He's the one that took your advice and has just pitted in. And it does look like he's going to emerge in quite a bit of clear air. Now, he was, I believe, a top 10 runner. So I like this call.
Yeah. I think he was 5th. So if he gets ahead of Arthur Chan, then I'm going to rest my case. But I don't think he will. I think the gap was maybe a bit too big, but we'll see. But as I say, nice pocket of clean air. And, he was in 5th, for goodness sake. I mean, anybody further down than that can do the same, as Townend again has another look here.
Does not look like he likes that run down into turn 1. We haven't seen him defend like this the entire race. So Rodriguez on the rear guard now as Townend tries his best to cut back each time. Not able to do it these first 2 times. Will he maybe learn a trick or two in the upcoming laps?
Yes, it is looking uncomfortable for Rodriguez at the moment, and suddenly Thomas Briggs' strategy might be coming into play. If he saved his tyres knowing these two were going to fight so he could close in, that would be the most incredible bit of foresight anyone's ever seen. But I don't think that's part of the plan. I think he has just dropped off a few seconds. It's worth noting, though, he has got a second closer to these two since they started fighting like this.
So there may be some merit to the thought that he is just saving himself a little bit, saving the tires to try and charge later. But I think we're both in agreement that it was a bit too much saving based on what we've been witnessing. On board with Townend. I'd love to stay on board all the way down to turn 1 to see what it looks like, see how close it feels from inside this car.
Let's have a look as he that's the better line. You see it from here very clearly on board as he stays to the left and gets on the power earlier. Now watch that gap on the top left just come down and down and down, and here we go in towards turn 1. Rodriguez is going to be forced to defend again.
There it is. Holds the inside. Leaves a little bit of the door open, but not enough to satisfy Blake Townend, who this time's going to try and go around the outside. Will he be given enough space? No! They're going to make contact, and the car is going to stay forward for Bryce Rodriguez, but not without relinquishing the top spot. Will Race Control take a look at that contact?
Townend did get through as a result of contact, but I think he was absolutely forced into doing that. We need to see it from another angle to find out. We'll have a replay in a moment, but I think, to be honest, Townend stood his ground perfectly fine for my money, and Bryce Rodriguez pushed him to the absolute limit there. In the end, he loses the lead. Is that the path for the race win, or is there more of a story to tell here?
And Briggs did not gain as much as I expected in that. He's still about 4.3 seconds back. But yeah, impressive move by Blake Townend to do it the hard way around and come away with the position. I think you're right. There wasn't really much room to the outside for him, but not our call to make. That's up to Race Control, which with the car contact will no doubt at least take a glance at it as they carry around back to the same position here in just a moment. Will Rodriguez try to return the favor, or does he have enough here?
This would be an angle to see it from. He's almost in the grass there, isn't he? And he's absolutely been put there by Rodriguez. Townend does nothing wrong there for me. He just holds his ground where he should be, and Rodriguez does that to himself in a sense. For what it's worth, I don't see anything wrong with what Rodriguez did either. He just pushed Townend to the absolute limit there. He couldn't have pushed him any further, otherwise that would have been, outside the rules for my money. But he pushed him as far as possible. Townend stood firm to the challenge and took the lead. Nothing wrong with that for me.
Gave us, I think, one of the greatest moments that we've had in this race with an impressive pass. It's close coming down into turn 7. Not going to work out for Rodriguez this time into there. Could be looking at some other spots, but Townend is not impervious. He's the one that goes hot into the corner this time.
And he very nearly got dived down the inside at turn 8 of all places. Rodriguez, instead of going to the outside conventionally there, actually tried to stick his nose at the inside, which was weird, but it nearly paid off. And here he comes towards 11, again looking. He'll have a go at 12 by the looks of things here. Outside or inside, it's going to be outside line. He's just setting him up here, I think, through this chicane for a run on the front straight.
And when do we see pit stops with either of these two? Right now, for both of them at the same time, and they're going to be able to make it into the corner. But look, they've got a slow car in front of them. There's no place to go. It's too narrow here. He's going to try and send it too wide. He manages to get there. Blake Townend, desperate to get himself free of Rodriguez in these pit stops.
What was going on there? That was unbelievable as a slower car came in. I think it's Michael Schurer who came in at the same time. That was unbelievable between those two. Blake Townend going round the outside to try and make the overtake in the pit lane. Have you seen anything like this before in towards the Indianapolis pit lane? It's quite a difficult pit lane on your own here. Never mind when you're trying to make a pass on somebody. I'm not sure why Shurer's going quite so slowly, but what a bit of driving this is. He fits himself down an impossible gap. In the end, the difference is negligible as they come down pit lane together. The pit stop time itself is going to be far more important. They're about to come to a stop and serve that stop now.
Yeah, that was brave. That could have gone awry if that car had not held off to the right-hand side. And we could have had a blocked pit entry. It looks like exiting out, it is going to be Rodriguez, I believe, in front. No, Blake Townend is in front of Rodriguez. And they are still behind that car that they were trying to pass, as now they are finally able to sneak through as it's a 3-wide moment with the lap traffic.
And that's not good for Rodriguez at all. He got through actually a bit better than I thought he would, but that was a 3-wide moment, really close for Townend, but really important for him to get through as well. There's a past position up ahead, by the way, with Klaus Nielsen, but after laps and laps and laps of following each other, half of the guys that had yet to pit just came in on that last lap, following each other directly into the pit lane, just as they've been following each other on the circuit for the last 45 minutes. I don't know what they are doing, to be honest.
And who unfortunately knows he was in the wall for a brief moment and has returned to the track, as we saw from the replay. We're waiting on Pies, Waltman, Braun, and Nielsen. Top 4 on the track still owe us a pit stop. Pies is in. Waltman is coming in right now. Looks like Braun in as well, and I imagine Nielsen will be the latest as he's almost getting lapped. Well, not lapped, but passed for position, I should say, by Townend. Townend able to be freed up and carries on being chased by Bryce Rodriguez. Still, as it has been this entire race, a mere half a second between P1 and P2.
One person in the top 18 did not come in the last 2 laps. I mean, one. And that was only 3 laps before that. So, I mean, God knows what's going on there. Kerry Brooks was the only one.
Yeah.
We'll see whether he actually makes any time, because if he loses time, then I guess everybody else will say, well, that's why we don't do it. As he goes over the line there, he's still behind Arthur Chan. In fact, Christian Pies is probably a bit closer to him than he was before. So it's either made no difference or not in his favour. So I can see it, but I mean, you're also not going to make any places by following the driver behind you the whole way through, including in the pit lane. But there you go.
Well, I mean, nothing risked, nothing gained, I suppose.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
exactly.
might as well at least try it. In the meantime, back to this battle for P1. Wait, have we had a pit stop from Chad Henson? No, we have not. Holy cow. He's still going. He's in 3rd. I only noticed because he's up 24 positions.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a no stop, doesn't it? The only one not to have stopped yet, just going as far as he possibly can. And he's actually in front of Thomas Briggs at the moment. He seems to have lost quite a bit of time in the pit stop. 17 seconds in the lane for him. Just wonder whether he took on a tyre or two, but I'd very much doubt it. As Matthew Odell goes for a spin himself out of turn 12. Surprised, actually. We're not seeing more of those, but I think that's the first one through that final chicane.
It is surprisingly tricky, and there is a bit of camber on those short chutes, so you are making a bit of a transition into there to try and keep the car pointed the right way before these two get heated themselves. We do want to once again mention one of our sponsors, because when the sun is relentless, your sunscreen should be too. Mo Handsome Dew Sport Sunscreen Spray is now available. It's SPF 30 broad spectrum and reef safe. Plus, this spray is water resistant for up to 80 minutes. It's even TSA travel size and made in the USA. This protecting spray is perfect for 120-degree Indy track surfaces. And to prove it, tonight's highest climber will receive a 2-pack Mo Handsome Sport Sunscreen Spray. Learn more at their Instagram at MoHandsomeSkin and at their website, mohandsome.com/sunscreen. Right now, our highest climber, I believe, is Ed Eisenring, who's up to 10 or 11, depending on how these pit stops go.
I think they're all done now. Well, maybe there will be a couple actually for Fernandez and Holmes, but
side by side for the lead, and they once again come together. They're actually not going to spin this time, although there is a secondary contact coming back onto the oval. A big lift to keep from going into the wall will force Rodriguez back into P2. It's already been getting physical, but now it's getting even rougher.
It certainly is, and this is another look from Rodriguez down in towards turn one. He's not close enough. Maybe he's having a bit of a resurgence towards the end. Maybe Townend has taken a bit too much out of his tyres in the last couple of nights. It was Rodriguez who started it, going down the inside at turn 13, and there was side-to-side contact. Rodriguez wanted to squeeze Townend to the very tight inside line. Townend just thought they were going to follow the racing line, the both of them, and so they came together. And Rodriguez's slide it was through turn 14, preventing him from getting the place. Here he comes again towards turn 7.
Yeah, this all kicked off when Townend was just a little bit hot into turn 12. He's not going to defend the inside coming down into 7. He's going to leave the door open. Rodriguez will get through, and again they make contact. This time it shoves Townend into the grass, and he has to be forced back into second place once more.
That for me is that is too, I think, too far, to be honest, for Bryce Rodriguez to keep that place with a clear mind. Down the inside he goes. He's nowhere near the apex. He's barely made the corner himself. Blake Townend certainly hasn't. Through no fault of his own. That for me is absolutely on Rodriguez, and he's not far off, just driving him off the circuit there, and at the moment shows no signs of giving that one back.
So he's going to let the stewards decide it looks like. As the 24 as our leader with 6 minutes left to go. It's about a minute and a half around this track, so still plenty of chances to try and fight back. That's if Blake Townend has the tires under him to do so, because like I said, this all kind of kicked off when he just overshot one of the corners a little bit. It could be that they've cried enough out there and he cannot hold on to the pace he's been trying to run.
Yeah, he might be relying on race control now to get involved, but to be honest, if I was Bryce Rodriguez, I'd almost be letting Townend back through again, because that might absolve any penalty that you get, and if you do get one, you probably drop to 6th. Which is a lot worse than seconds. So I'd be tempted to just give it straight back again and sort of take the decision out of race control's hands, but he's going to carry on, and hopefully he doesn't get a penalty. And I think Townend is seeing the end of those tyres. I think that is what's happening here. Rodriguez has paced himself a little bit better by the looks of things. Certainly better than maybe he did 2 weeks ago, better than I thought he was going to midway through this race. As Brooks goes for a late outbreaking of himself there, and he drops outside the top 5 as a result.
Chris Pies takes that position. Nicely done on his part. Back to our top 2. Just have not seen much space between them. Just saw Siddall dropping down the order, so let's see if we can find what happened. Oh, just a touch of the grass coming into turn 4, which is surprisingly easy. That's one of those corners, Ewan, where you're kind of looking off to the right-hand side and not necessarily seeing exactly where your tires on the left-hand side are.
Yeah, and if they do indeed get grabbed in by the curb and the grass and the gravel there on the left-hand side, then you can be going straight on in towards turn 4. Very, very difficult corner to be braking and turning at the same time. And so no surprise that we see an incident through there, although I'm again surprised there haven't been more. It's been a very clean race across the board actually from everybody, and very well driven considering the the track conditions, therefore the tyre wear that we're going to see, and the difficult nature of this circuit. It's been a very clean race, taking those factors into account.
Yeah, obviously it was frantic at the start, but since then I've been impressed with the way everybody's been handling it. Another deep run in by Blake Townend. Enrico Gregorato as well is going to try and create his own racing line through the grass out of turn 12. Loses 2 spots 3 spots, it looks like, for it.
Mistakes are still going to be punished back in that group because it is still so close. From Thomas Isabel, 33 seconds off the lead, to Ed Eisenring, 51 seconds off the lead, 17 seconds from 7th to 21st. It's still very, very tight back in the pack, so mistakes can be ill-afforded. As Rodriguez currently making no mistakes. He is about to see 3 laps to go now at the front of the field.
And here's the thing, his laps have been consistently quicker. He is up to 0.8 of a second ahead now. He's pulling away. All of our talk about Blake's tires do seem to be coming to fruition. The evidence is pointing towards him maybe just being out of juice at this stage. But they are coming across lap traffic, and you never know what the racing gods hold in store.
Yeah, so far lap traffic has done a good job getting out the way, even if it did create a 3-wide moment straight out the pit lane for these two, which was very, very nerve-wracking at the time. Could have been race defining, but in the end it's going to be a minor detail in the wider picture of this race, which has been fantastic at beginning and end. Through the middle, obviously quieter moments as everybody bided their time for the finish here, but certainly the start and the finish have been very good indeed. In Townend, you can just see how much he's throwing at this now. Absolutely everything is going into these final couple of laps, but I think he's just going to come up short at the moment. He just doesn't seem to quite have the speed at the moment.
The one consolation is that Thomas Briggs is a full 7 seconds behind him. So they've been running such an impressive pace that even as quick of a car as the 22 is, he hasn't been able to hang tough with them. He's kind of all on his lonesome. Arthur Chan's still back and forth, is another 5 seconds back from him. So well done to Thomas Briggs. Although I have to admit, I don't think even if he didn't have that cut course at the start, it doesn't seem like he would have been able to keep up with this top group.
Got people watching him.
Got fans.
Looks like there's some sort of conversation going on in the back of the show. He's got a whole he's got his whole, I don't know whether he lives in some sort of flat or whatever, but whatever you call it. Yeah, just people chatting about. That'd be really annoying to me, by the way. I'd say get out, please.
I mean, he's got a lofted bed, so I kind of wonder if he's in a dorm situation there.
I've got no idea.
He does look a little bit younger. I don't know. I'll have to find out. Maybe he'll be happy that I am saying he's still college age, but we'll see as we continue to watch the 24 Bryce Rodriguez control this one, getting ready for a white flag next time by. He is quickly approaching Mike Patterson up in front of him. If Mike is not in a battle of his own, he does have a good chance to pull off to the side down the main straight.
Yeah, and you'd imagine he will do that as well. He's 27th, by the way. Not very many going a lap down, considering the short nature of this circuit, which is a testament to all these drivers right the way down the field, that they've been able to stay quite so close to the likes of Bryce Rodriguez and Blake Townend here, who are going to receive the white flag in a moment. Patterson goes wide there anyway. Oh dear, he's going to sit on the racing light, the final corner for both of these two, which is not the ideal place, but it was the same for both.
I think Townend may have gotten it just a tiny bit worse, but it's a bit of a moot point at this stage. 9/10 off, unless there's a big mistake from Rodriguez. He's just not nearly close enough. There you can see the gap between them, just about the biggest it has been all race long, which is a testament to the race management that we have been seeing from Bryce Rodriguez today.
Yeah, it's been excellent. I was somewhat criticising him that, you know, we were starting to see a pattern emerge that in a couple of races in a row, at the same point in the race, he'd started to come under a little bit more pressure, but this time round he's held firm under the pressure, and he's found a second wind, and he's got back in front of Townend. I still think the pass is very dubious for me. He's run Townend off the road at turn 7 in my opinion, but it seems that it is going to stand, and he is going to go on and take his second race victory as a result, and therefore a 700 points tally after 3 rounds, which is the maximum achievable, and he will lead the championship therefore ahead of Blake Townend and Thomas Briggs, who should be tied or very near to each other in second and third.
Yeah, and Bryce Rodriguez, who we haven't heard anything from race control. Oh, and he's going to slow. He is letting Townend through. Townend is ahead, and this is fuel. Bryce Rodriguez is short on fuel. Blake Townend will get his revenge in one of the most unlikely ways we could have expected. Your winner is the 575 here at Indianapolis.
Unbelievable. Bryce Rodriguez might not even make it to the line here. Thomas Briggs is going to get past him for second. Arthur Chan's going to be on the podium here tonight by the looks of things. Oh, there he goes. Is Rodriguez going to even get to the yard of Briggs here? Where is he going to get to? Oh, there it is.
There.
Oh, my goodness. Fourth place in the end. An extraordinary finish.
Arthur Chan with his second podium of the season. He's going to be beside himself with that one. Rodriguez, no doubt furious that he has miscalculated literally by a few hundred feet at the end of this race. Oh, absolutely gutting. There's Chan again, probably in disbelief at what has just happened. Look at that. He was out of his chair.
Oh my word. Have we seen a finish like that? I mean, last corner effectively. I think Blake Townend, by the way, was going to do that anyway. The way he dived down the inside suggested he had no idea that Rodriguez was slowing down there and running out of fuel. I think Townend was throwing absolutely everything at that final sector and wanted to give it everything for the race win, and he gets it.
So there you go. Blake Townend, your winner over Thomas Briggs, who inherits second place, and Arthur Chan gets his second podium out of 3 races. Bryce Rodriguez settles for fourth after we were commending a well-managed race. It all unraveled at the very last couple turns. Chris Pye still gets a top 5. Kerry Brooks will finish in 6th, and Thomas Isabel in 7th. Jonathan Waltman was P8, Chris Braun in 9th, and Rich Minkler will wind up in 10th today. After that, it is Matthew Siddall who finishes in 11th. Eric Sutton might be tied for our hardest charge of the race because we had some problems with our driver that was up before. It's 11 for him. Gregorato up 11 into 13th. Klaus Nielsen was in P14. And then it was Kevin Jokel in 15th. No, I take it back. Chad Henson here in 16th. He is up 12 positions, so it looks like he might be getting some sunscreen in the mail. David Fernandez is going to be in 17th, Matthew Jokel 18th, and Sylvester Canny in 19th. Robbie Prescott rounding out your top 20. Xiping Wang was in 21st. Then from there, it was Terrence Tong in 22nd. Joe Sinclair, 23rd. And Leif Peterson, 24th. Brett Holmes finished 25th. Last one on the lead lap. Mike Patterson, we saw him get lapped right at the very end. He was 26th. Chris Cook, 27th. Ben Leung, 28th. Jim Huth, 29th. Ed Eisenring, a black flag, I'm not sure what for, was 30th. Lost all of his positions gained, essentially. Michael Schurer was 31st, Matt Odell 32nd, Jesse Lyon a DNF, with Thomas Ewing being a did not start on this race. Well then, let's see. Do we have Blake Townend? We do indeed. Would love to get his reaction on this one, as no doubt he is just as shocked as we were. Blake, it comes down to the last couple corners. Were you thinking to yourself, this one slipped through my fingers, and suddenly you find yourself in first?
Absolutely. I got a pretty big hip check a few laps before, so I thought from there on it was over. I was trying my best. I was overdriving the car, sliding it, just trying to keep it on track, trying to keep up with Bryce, and it was like, oh man, he's running out of fuel. And so I just took the inside line, and I mean, that in the moment I didn't know what was really going on, but so I put it in fast gear and just cranked the RPMs with the throttle and just hoping for the best, and noticed he finished third. So all in all, really good for the championship as well. And thank you to SimShop Wyatt for just being a fantastic guy, and I really appreciate the equipment. It's really helped, and I look forward to more wins. So thank you.
Out of curiosity, with the various overtakes, I'm pretty sure every single change of the lead involved some form of contact between you two. What is your opinion on the various touches that you guys had?
Well, that one in the back stretch towards the end, I was pushing the limit, I'd say. It didn't leave me any room. He overdrove the corner. As for the rest, I think the last section is just so technical that it promotes that kind of overtaking. I'm only on a single screen, a 24-inch, so for me it's a lot harder to race these guys and to see where they are. So yeah, I do my best, that I can. So yeah, I think a lot of it was hard racing for sure. The lap one was a bit questionable though, with the corner cut in and then getting the slowdown and blocking me. I think that was pretty bad, but regardless, I won. So yeah.
That's, I guess, what matters in the end. Congratulations on the first win of Series 14.
Thank you so much.
That was Blake Townend, your victor. And behind him was Thomas Briggs. Ewan has caught up with P2.
Thomas, welcome in. Congrats on second place here tonight. It seemed to me like it was quite a lonely race for you, followed by a surprising move into second place. Would that be an accurate summarization of your race?
Yeah, I was just having a track day out there. The beginning was a lot of fun, a lot of good fight, and then right at the end got a nice early Christmas present. I know I got lucky today, but crucially 2 spots ahead of Bryce, which is good for the championship. And yeah, I'll take P2 today.
Exactly. I calculated that you, along with Bryce and actually Blake Townend as well, who wins tonight, will be tied on points at the top of the championship. Would you say that's a successful first 3 rounds for you, given that is the situation?
Yeah. I mean, the first round wasn't great, and it's just kind of making up for that. And I can't afford any more mistakes this season, so I'm just trying to keep it as consistent as I can. I think I'm driving at the best I ever have, and just trying to keep rolling. Shout out to my all my friends who came to support me. Got my pledge brother, and the Shop Hawks race team, of course.
Do you find that annoying, people sat behind you, by the way, or do you like the support?
No, I love it. I love the support. I'm used to an audience, so yeah, you wanna say hello.
Okay. Jesus, you have got proper. You need to build some like grandstands in there. Jesus. Anyway, thanks for chatting to us, Thomas. Congrats on second place tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Thomas Briggs, second place tonight, and an army of people supporting him. Goodness me.
Well, the next up was Arthur Chan. Like we said, a bit of a surprise on the podium, no doubt for us. Arthur, as soon as we cut to you after the race, you had already hopped out of your chair. Were you leaping for joy?
Yeah, I was. Well, first of all, nice to chat with you, Joe. It's taken 15 years, but finally get to chat in the interview room again. No, I was so happy. I was, you probably saw my race was very straightforward. I was driving in a big hole by myself. Brooks was behind me, keeping me honest. And in the last stint, it was just keeping my head down and pushing, because you never know what can happen. And my goodness, something actually happened.
Has it really been 15 years? Have you not had any podiums since then?
No, not broadcasts you've been doing with. I haven't hardly had any podiums in PCA, especially pro class. The talent level is so incredibly deep. But no, it's going back to the Mazda MX-5 World Tour days.
Wow. Okay, it takes us both back. But talk about this race, because one of the things that we kept talking about is that it feels like everybody kind of is stuck on the same strategy. Is there ever any thought in your mind when you're stuck in a position to try and do something a little bit different on the pit strategy than those around you?
Certainly would if I was being held up by someone, but no, it hasn't happened for me. I mean, I am ready to attempt undercuts. I actually did last time at Watkins Glen, and I think I got one position just because one of the drivers overfueled. But I do keep an eye out for that. I do kind of know in my preparation beforehand, I have an idea of how much the pit loss time is and what hole I'm going to land in, and I try to come up with a spot on the track to take a peek at my little track map to see if there's a hole there. So yeah, the pace it's really I feel like at the sharp end of the pro class especially, it's just all about not making a mistake, because you can't afford to make a 1 or 2 second mistake, and it's almost yourself is the biggest competitor in some ways.
It does seem like it is very difficult. Well, the last and most important question: do the Captain America socks make you any faster?
Those are the only interesting socks I had, so I try to keep things interesting for you. So that's the only ones I had. But I definitely wanted to also have a chance to thank the people that support me. I'm representing a Porsche Center Langley, which is a Porsche dealership here in Canada. They started working with them last year in some Canadian esports competitions, and this year they're sponsoring me through the PCA sim racing. So it's pretty surreal to kind of bring this hobby I've been doing for really 20 years now to have this real life link to it. So big thanks to them for their support.
Well done. That was Arthur Chan, our third place finisher here today, which of course is going to wrap up our interviews. And the next race in the series, we heard Ewan mention it before, is going to be at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, which will lack a lot of those long, fast straightaways that we see here at Indianapolis. It's going to be extremely technical, and it's going to be a toughie. That'll be October 15th when we return for that one. We'll also be back tomorrow night for more Indy. October 2nd sees the club class take to the Brickyard. Big thanks goes out to our steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as to our team tonight, Ramiro and Ewan. Also, thank you for watching our broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.